you're looking for the latest Georgia Bulldog news in football, basketball, baseball, and recruiting, then you are in the right place.
It's third down, Bryce Young's career. You need 10, play clock at 4. From the pocket, launching downfield, underthrown and intercepted. Keely Ringo has an escort down the sidelines. All the way to the end zone, and Georgia is going to conquer the Crimson Tide.
Hosted by Jeremiah Stoddard and Jonathan Williams.
Georgia on the mountaintop. Demons be gone, and the drought is over. National champions at long last.
Just sit back, relax, and prepare yourself for these hot takes you're about to listen to.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Classic City Sports. As always, Jeremiah Stoddard, along with Jonathan Williams. This week we have a special guest for you guys, one of our biggest, our favorite UGA baseball players of all time, at least in my opinion. I'm speaking for Jonathan there. I'll give it to him as well. We got Josh McAllister on the show, played multitude of positions at Georgia, grew up a Georgia fan. You like seeing a versatile baseball player. It's always a good thing to add to a team and everything. So Josh, we appreciate you joining us on the show. Fumbled that word there, but I appreciate having you on the show, man. How's it going?
No, it's good, man. No, I appreciate you reaching out. And like I said earlier, I was ecstatic when I was at work today and down at my phone, and I got a DM from Jeremiah Stoddard, and it was like, "Hey, man, you want to come on the show?" And I was like, "I have been waiting for this." It was an immediate yes. And I was so pumped, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been waiting for the right moment. We've talked about this a few times at this point, saying, "Hey, we definitely got to get Josh on the show at some time." Had to wait till you were at least out of UGA. We didn't want to kind of make anything. I know there's all the different things of you guys being able to talk to media members and all that stuff. So we kind of had to respect that part and waited till you got done with everything there. And so, we were going over some show notes today, as y'all can see with the title is NIL from the player's perspective, and we sat here going, how do we kind of want to approach that, right? What do we want to do with that? And I kind of go, hey, I have a guy that I can reach out to and just kind of see if I can bounce some questions off of him and everything like that. And honestly, was just hoping to at least just get a DM back from you saying, hey, here's some information on it. And then ended up being able to get you on the show, which is obviously 10 times better because you can actually sit here and talk to people rather than hearing everybody listening to me just sit here and try to reread basically a text message, DM, that kind of thing. So it should be a lot of fun. So with that, we've got, NIL from the player's perspective is what we're going to kick the show off. And we've got our segment, the Dawgnosticator. We are going to predict or come up with some bold predictions for the season on this. So Josh, I hope you're ready for that as well. Whatever kind of crazy prediction you have for Georgia football this year, as we have, by the way, tomorrow starts fall camp. So that should be everything's starting to start to ramp back up as we're a few weeks out. And then as always, we got to end the show with King of the Hill. And that should be a pretty fun segment that way as well. Jonathan is pretty good at coming up with those and getting us to really think. This one made me think for a little bit. I had to sit here and kind of sit back and process some of the information that he gave me and come up with my answer on it. But I'm excited. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight into this and everything. So NIL is obviously a hot topic, right? Last year in July, it was announced that everyone across the nation was allowed to participate in NIL deals. At first, it was a couple states, and then they finally passed it league-wide. Everyone had the opportunity. We always hear all of the perspectives coming from other people, other media members and stuff, after reacting to the deals and all the stuff that's out there, all the money. There's a famous, $8 million quarterback in the SEC coming up next year. Everybody knows that, right? So that makes all big headlines. And everybody talks about, it's just all this money grab stuff going from these kids, all that. We sat back going, man, it'd be great to actually think about this from a different point of view and say, hey, what if I was sitting in those shoes as a kid, as an 18-year-old kid trying to make a decision, 17-year-old kid trying to make a decision of what school I want to go to that's going to put me in the best place for my future career. Where do I want to go? What makes me choose that school? Do NIL deals have a big impact on that kind of stuff? And I go, hey, we got somebody to talk to on that. Let's ask a couple people that we can. I got a comment from Cole Wilcox as well. I reached out to him today. So I got a comment from him on that as well that we will share with everybody afterwards. But we'll kick it over to you, Josh. Coming from a player that has been at UGA, you had an NIL deal with 7-6 Apparel. Shout out there. Got the shirt on today. I know you're wearing a shirt from 7-6 as well. So you got that NIL deal. I'm not going to break into all the secrets of what's going on there, but just from your perspective, what does that look like from a player's point of view when you get that call offering you some type of deal at all?
I think it makes you excited, especially because, you got the quarterback going to Tennessee. He's got an $8 million deal. You got Bryce Young. He's worth $3.1 million. I think I saw a list like top 10, and Brock Bowers is number 9th on that list. I think he's making like close to $1 million, maybe just something. But for me and most of the guys on the team, none of us have 38,000 followers, 100,000 followers. What these big brands look for to give to trying to muster it out, to give to the kids that don't have, the audience reach that a big time maybe basketball player or a big time football player has. So I think companies like 7-6 who are local brands and they love what they do, and Chase Kelly, he's actually the one that reached out to me, or I might have reached out to him. He was like, dude, yes, of course. We would love to get something that works. And at first it was just, hey man, I'll send you a couple shirts. I'll send you a couple hats. And for us, I thought it was so awesome because not every day are people sending me a shirt, especially Georgia stuff, especially Georgia gear. And it was so awesome to have someone who was invested in, I'm not going to say the little guy, but literally the little guy in deals. I'm not making $10,000 a month, but I'll get a free shirt here and there, and I think it makes me, or at least for me, I was in school while I was playing. I thought it was cool to be an athlete. This company wanted to technically sponsor me and give me a free shirt. I think NIL gets a little crazy. I've always been pro, like, college athletes need to make money. And I know there's the that, we're getting our school paid for and we get a stipend. Well, not everyone is on, right? Baseball has 11 scholarships, right? Between 45 guys, the coaches got split up, which is, I think it's one of the craziest things in sports. And I just felt like when 7-6 reached out, it kind of made me feel wanted, because I knew Nike wasn't out or Gatorade or someone like that, but it was just super cool to have a company reach out and be like, hey, we see what you're doing, see what you do, and we'd love to be part of that.
Yeah, I think that's something that I think is really cool that I've seen with different athletes in UGA, especially with me being in the state of Georgia, obviously, is that you see billboards for guys like Dan Jackson up in my hometown. He's from my hometown. So I see billboards of Dan Jackson all over the place, who used to be a walk-on. So again, like you were just touching on, that's not a guy that has a scholarship like all these other people. But when NIL came a thing and he got put on the field, he's able to have at least something through companies in his hometown that are willing to put his face on something. And whatever it is that he gets, whether it's a shirt to rep their brand or whatever else, that's still beneficial for them. That's still something for them. And then also Onward Reserve. That's another in Athens brand, Georgia grads that are doing deals with UGA football players and other UGA athletes as well. So that's something that I think is good that you touched on, is like, you got 7-6 Apparel, you've got Onward Reserve, you've got things like what Dan Jackson has back at home. Those are all good things I think that are really good for what NIL provides players. And again, you speaking of, even if it isn't this mass amount of money that some players are getting, sometimes it is nice just to get something, just to feel like you have a brand that wants you to represent them and feel wanted in the same sense. I think that's something great that you touched on.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to hear you talk about it too. Coming from, you transferred to Georgia from a small school. We were talking a little bit ago. You grew up a Georgia fan. You love the Dogs since you were a kid, and that's what you wanted. Your goal was, I just want to play for Georgia. Like, it'd be amazing to play for Georgia. You kind of came into the situation, you got an NIL deal, but you were already on the roster prior to NIL becoming a thing. So it wasn't like you got courted to come to the school for the NIL deal or anything. You wanted to play
Right.
for Georgia. That's where you wanted to end up in your career. We talked about that. But then that you had the opportunity, the door was opened for you afterwards to actually be able to capitalize on your own name, image, and likeness, and be able to earn a little bit of money that way. Versus there's these kids out there that are right now being courted out of high school, right? So let's go back to a different perspective for you. Like, let me kind of put you on the spot. If you were a 17-year-old kid right now, one of the top recruits in the nation, that kind of thing, right? You can use football or baseball as a point of view. It doesn't really matter. If you've got 5 schools calling you, all wanting you to come to the school, and you got a few of them starting to pull out money and say, hey, here's how much money I can give you to come to the school. I've got this lined up. This deal's ready for you. As soon as you come, you'll sign this NIL deal. You'll make X number of dollars, right?
Right.
How much does that impact a decision on Josh McAllister? If you have that, like with your situation where you wanted to play for Georgia, if Georgia, goes, hey, don't have any NIL deals really for you, you might be able to get something once you get here, but I'm not going to guarantee you something to come to the school. Versus, say, Alabama calls you and goes, hey, here's $1 million. Are you going to go to the school that offers you $1 million and go play for Alabama, or maybe Georgia?
Me, no. I would, but I feel like I'm a lot different than most kids who grow up playing sports. Oh goodness, am I frozen?
No, you're good, I think.
Okay. I just I wouldn't do that personally because, like I said, like we touched on, I'm a dog since I was born. I would. There's no other school I wanted to go to. I was about to hang up my cleats after going to junior college because there were a couple schools that called me, but I always felt that I would go to Georgia, and I wanted to go to Georgia, and I did the whole. But I totally understand when we start recruiting kids when they're in 8th grade, which is absolutely it's almost absurd. I get it if someone's like, hey, you can come to Wyoming and we'll give you $1.5 million, or you can go to Alabama, you could make nothing and be a. I feel like the average kid who didn't grow up loving school or something like that's probably just gonna go chase a check. Chase a check is what. And I look at the A&M thing, and I think that's what those kids did. In my opinion, I think that's what those kids did. They went and A&M promised them X amount of dollars to come to school. The kids don't even love the school. And what happens when that kid's not playing? And he's like, you know what, dude, I'm out. I'm about to hit the transfer portal, but I signed that contract. You guys still owe me $800,000. So I think that's where NIL gets kind of crazy. And I go back to you basically legalize what you did. And I've always been for athletes making in college. I've been that way since probably in high school. I've always been like, it's tough for college athletes to get a job. It is. I mean, being a college athlete is a full-time job. It's 7 days a week from about 9 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon, 6, 7, 8 when you get home from lift or after you go eat. And it's nice for kids to have money. Money isn't everything. We're going to have our whole life, but I totally understand kids who don't grow up loving a school, who aren't passionate about a school, who want to go and take that 50 grand. Because it just looks, 50 grand to us right now, it's a ton of money. No doubt. And I just feel like some kids, I think they're going to get put in bad just by chasing. I want to keep using that, chasing a check. I kind of like saying that, chasing a check, man. I just, there definitely needs to be regulations on it. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's all brand new. And in 2 years, it's going to look a lot different than it did right now. So, but me personally, no, I'm a dog. I don't think there's any amount of money that could sway me from going to the University of Georgia. And there's not any amount of money that changed 3 years that I had at the University of Georgia. So,
And I think you're actually kind of already seeing what you're pointing out as to like kids going to a school because you get offered X amount of dollars to come there. They may not necessarily be sold on the school, but they're sold on what they're offering, what's being put on the table for them at that moment. I think I'm not saying this is what happened with Quinn Ewers, but you saw Quinn Ewers, the quarterback who was at Ohio State and is now at Texas. He didn't play his senior year of high school football. He instead enrolled at Ohio State and went ahead and joined the football team. Didn't play at all, and he's already at Texas. I mean, I don't even know if he spent an entire year at the school, but he's already.
I think half the year, right?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
So he was an early enrollee. He came in right, and he started like right away, or not an early enrollee, like you said. He skipped his senior season and he went immediately to Ohio State because he was able to sign the deal with them in the spring. Like after the season was over, the spring he transferred. Like it was not even a year, not even close to a year of him actually being at the school. It was one football season of him at Ohio State before he transferred.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's exactly what happened with Quinn Ewers, but I think it's kind of what you think happened. Probably I mean, all we can do right now is just kind of put the pieces together of what we see is put out in the media or kind of what's going on with everything in college football, what's being said about NIL, and then seeing what's going on with the transfer portal as well. Transfer portal is freaking hectic as all get out. Every single offseason, it seems like it gets crazier and crazier. And I think NIL is only feeding into that, especially because something that a lot of times you'll hear people preach about is, and I know Brooks has preached about it as well, is don't fall in love with a coach. Don't fall in love with X amount of things. Don't fall in love with money. Now we can say that as well. Go somewhere where you feel like you're at home. Go to a school that you're comfortable at, because that's the school's always going to be there. That school is always going to be there your 4 years or your 5 years or 3 years or whatever. That coach may not always be there. That deal on the table may not always be there either. And so when times are rough and you got to kind of go back to your roots, or you got to go to what makes you comfortable, you want to be in a situation where you already feel comfortable, not risking things that may not necessarily be there, things that are not stable in that type of relationship. And so NIL is definitely something I wouldn't consider stable, because I mean, we've already been seeing things about like potential NIL deals maybe not being fulfilled. A lot of coaches already hinted at that, about promises being made to these athletes and them getting there, and they're not actually happening. So then what do you do now? You're that kid that was like, oh yeah, I'm going to this school and they're going to give me money, but I don't necessarily like this school. I don't necessarily like Texas A&M or whoever you want to put in that situation. And then you're stuck there with not the money that you thought you were getting, and you're at a school that you necessarily maybe don't like, and maybe even coaches you weren't exactly sold on either. It puts kids in a tough situation. That's my whole thing. I'm not saying this because I don't want athletes to get paid. I do. I think it's great. As I said before, NIL is great. But I want kids to be put in a safe situation for them that not only sustains them while they're in college, but then past college as well, which is why I think the Classic City Collective is a great thing with them partnering with Truist Bank and things like that.
Right, exactly. And I think what's crazy about these kids are going to double dip in this, right? If Arkansas says, "Hey, I'm going to give you $50,000 to come here and be a walk-on," let's just say that's the scenario, right? And then the kid has a really good season one year, and boom, Ohio State swoops in, and they're like, "We'll give you $5 million." And I think we're going to see kids, I mean, just bounce. Just 1 year here, 1 year here. And then we're done. And it's literally just all about money. And that's what makes college sports so great, is that it's the love for the school and your teammates. And it's just different than professional sports where you're trying to make the most money. And let's not sit here and act that schools weren't paying kids before NIL became a thing, right? Now it's just in the open. But there was definitely stuff behind that I felt, especially I'd probably say football and basketball. I don't really know about baseball. I don't know if the market's big enough for baseball yet, or at least college baseball. Yeah, I totally agree. I just think kids bounce, just the transfer portal. I think it's going to get more.
I think it's going to get more hectic, and that's why I really, really hope they don't pass this rule where they're going to let anyone transfer at any single time. I think it is fair. I do think it's fair to let somebody have the option to transfer one time and make that change, because they make these decisions, these lifelong, life impacting decisions that at 17 years old, and maybe they're sold on these things from these coaches right now. Maybe they're told, hey, there's X number of dollars for you waiting for you when you get here, and then they don't follow through. So say Nico, the guy that's going to Tennessee, maybe that $8 million check bounces, right? Maybe it doesn't quite get to what he's been promised, because none of us know what that contract looks like. I hope to God he had somebody really review that contract and make sure enough of that is guaranteed to where it's not going to just be pulled out from under him and he's going to be made to look like a fool himself and not get all that money that he's been promised, right? So that kid might now have the chance to go somewhere else and play and make a second chance of himself, right? And make a decision to go put himself in a better place. That's fine. After that, after you transfer that one time, I don't think it's a great idea to let them just jump with no recourse, right? I'm not saying they shouldn't be allowed to transfer. Anyone can transfer 4 times if they want to, but you got to wait a year. You have to sit a year.
There's a penalty to transfer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a penalty. You have to. It has to be worth it to you. Is transferring at that point, after that one time where you can go and play everywhere, which I think is a good thing for them to be able to do. If they have that afterwards, you have to weigh the decision of, all right, I could transfer to this place for the money, for the playing time opportunity, for whatever the reason that you've come to your own terms with. Is it more valuable than sitting out that year? Because, in
Right.
football and other sports like that, sometimes football, you only have a limited amount of time that you can play, right? And if you're one of those kids that comes out and says, I'm going to play in the NFL, I'm just trying to help maybe my draft stock. Maybe I'll get drafted higher. Maybe I'll do something like that. But I'm going to end up in the NFL regardless. So is it worth waiting that year and basically wasting a year of your playing time? Because now you've now limited the amount of time that you could potentially play in the NFL.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, and Jeremiah, I know that you. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go
there,
ahead,
Josh.
John.
You go ahead and finish.
You got it.
I know that you hit up our guy Cole Wilcox, like you said earlier. Go ahead and you have the text message.
Yes.
If you go ahead and touch it on, I think Cole touched on something that is also a good point to be made about NIL. And I know Rudes, our guy, also made something in the comments as well, touching on this a bit. Is like every situation is also not the same. Like some people's priorities are a little different. Some people's situations at home are a little different. So that kind of makes certain things be higher up on the totem pole when it comes down to these things. So Jeremiah, you can just go ahead and read that for us.
Yeah. So, I mean, his point
Let me say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Do you remember Luke Ford?
Yeah.
This is where I thought the transfer
to Illinois
was gonna be good. His grandpa gets sick, right? He comes to Georgia for a couple years, and his grandpa gets sick, and he gets denied, right? But then you have kids like Cade Mays and let's just go Cade Mays, who just want to they just want to get out, and they accept him. And I thought that's what the whole point of the rule was to help kids who, like you said, John, hey, something happened closer to home, and I need to be closer to home. But I feel like the NCAA, they value people who are, and I get it, Justin Fields needed to be on the field in college football to make it more exciting. I totally understand. It's a business. At the end of the day, college football is a business no matter what. But I just wish they would have taken care of, people who actually needed to use the transfer portal for something other than playing time. It's not always about playing time in the transfer portal. So that's all I had to say about that. I know you touched on that, John.
No, yeah, absolutely valid point. But basically, I'll just kind of sum up. But Cole, when we messaged Cole, we were obviously asking him the same questions that you were asking, or not we, but Stoddard was specifically, and he kind of touched on some things, specifically talking about like I said earlier, you don't know people's situations at home, and he put it this way. He said, "I mean, that's like your dream job being ESPN, but Fox offers 3 times the amount that they do. So like sometimes." The situation isn't exactly the same for people. Maybe at that time, mom and dad are struggling to pay bills at home. And while UGA, like in your case, UGA was your dream school, while Georgia might be my dream school, but Texas A&M or someone else, whoever, I know I use Texas A&M every time. It's just because they're the ones always linked to this. But if they're offering
they're
that
the
money
bait right now, dude. They're take the full force.
Yeah, exactly. So if they offer me that money and that's something that could go to a good cause, like the Georgia player that Kirby talked about being able to pay for their parents' dialysis or their father's dialysis, like that's a good
down
thing
in South
for them
Georgia.
to be able to happen. So if that's the case, then you really can't blame them for chasing the check, as you would say, Josh. You really can't blame them if that's what they're prioritizing in their recruitment, because it's what they need. It's what their families need. You've heard
Right.
stories in the past about players that have to do that type of thing. And Kirby talks about that player would not be able to be at school if it was not for NIL. He would have to be at home working a job instead of being at college, getting a degree in what he thinks that could turn out helping him in the life for years and years and years. And especially whatever else money he gains in college, that thing is good. So again, also you have to kind of play this, me kind of playing devil's advocate. Like while we sit here and say like, find you a school that means something to you, or go where you feel like is home. Don't go chase a check. At the same time, there's also kids where that may not be an option to just go to your dream school. It may just be
business
your only
decision
option.
sometimes.
Yeah, you got to make exactly. You got to make a business decision sometimes.
And that's what, to go off of what you're saying. Yeah, like the Cole, when he said, that's like, yes, because I asked him, I was like, the same kind of question that I presented to you earlier. Josh was like, all right, if you got your school that you wanted to go to, and then this other school calls you and offers you X number of dollars or whatnot, what do you do? And he goes, here's the thing, that's like ESPN calling you, or that's your dream job, but you get 3 times the job offer at Fox. Like that makes a big difference. And he goes, you got to think of a lot of these guys are making business decisions, and that's how, like, as a fan's perspective, not everybody is going to have the same opportunity to be like, hey, this is my dream school. They may not get the offer from their dream school, or it may not be a good fit for them or something like that. And these guys, and his other point that he made on there was like, especially with football, right? So think about these 5-star football recruits and stuff. They're out here going, man, I'm going to make it to the NFL.
Yeah,
like, that's going to
happen.
If
you're 5-star,
I'm betting on myself.
You're supposed to go to the NFL.
Exactly. Yeah. So when somebody like Kirby maybe preaches, hey, I can get you to the NFL, they're going, bro, I'm going to get to the NFL anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get there. So what can you give me in the meantime?
Yeah.
And speaking of this, we have a special guest appearance that just dropped on with us as well. So let's go ahead and throw in our boy Brooks. What's up, Brooks?
Fit.
Look
at the fit he's pulling up in right now.
A little tank top and a little mailman.
The mailman hat, man. The mailman hat.
Hey, look, hold on, guys. Hold on. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Are we all clear now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Look, man, when it comes to getting players paid, I think I was talking about it right here. Look, little DGD fund right there, little damn good dog fund. Look, I'm not a dog. I cover Georgia, but when it comes to getting players paid, I don't mind. I don't mind paying a little couple of dollars for a little man delivers hat. That thing's crisp, man. Look at that thing.
That is clean.
I might need that hat.
Yeah,
Brooks, I'm gonna need you to text me that link. I'm gonna need you to text me that link in a minute.
Hey, the Guns N' Roses tank top, that's a little Walmart special. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Don't worry about that. But hey, y'all was talking about some NIL stuff, man. It was, I think, right? Is that what we're kind of hitting on?
That's
that is
the
topic right now.
NIL from the player's perspective, right? So not like the media perspective of, these kids just signing these deals and maybe doing it, but maybe why a kid wants to go after that NIL money. That's kind of the point of the conversation.
So back in the day, I think I heard Josh talking about some back in the day stuff. Back in the day, it was a lot of, hey, look, this is the guy that contributed to your funds to get here. Right? Go hang out with him at the local pre-7 o'clock game time tailgate at 10 a.m. We play the SEC championship game. You roll through Atlanta on a Thursday night to do media. Friday morning, you might eat brunch with your guy, right? Or your person or your bag man, right? That's how it used to be. Now it's just free for all. Let them have it, right? Let them get after it. And things that used to hide out in the shadows are now in the light, and that's fine. It is what it is. But the problem is that there's no governance, right? Like anytime there was ever any type of pay for play, whether it be in baseball, basketball, or football, anytime, which is what we are, professionalism, which is I'm paying you for your talents. I'm acquiring your talents for X amount of dollars, right? That's what we are talking about. Anytime that's ever been involved with competitive sports, we've implemented some type of salary cap. That's all everyone acts like they want, but that's not what's happening, right? I think the number one thing I listen to when I hear about these things is guys like Paul Feinbaum. I am not a historical listener of Paul. Do not get me wrong. But when Paul talks at SEC Media Days about how, quote unquote, Nick Saban's talked to his senator buddies and it might take 18 months, It's going to take 18 months for this to be relegated. So which means for guys like y'all who are Georgia fans and guys that are out here worried about NIL, just wait out 18 months. It's all good. Just wait out 18 months. And if you're one of these companies or one of these teams that is not doing it like the other ones, that is not NIL bagging it, things will settle in 18 months. It'll be okay. That's what I'm trying to tell people, but it's not keeping people from freaking out about 2023, where Georgia's going to finish 5th, 6th, like third to 7th, whatever, however it shakes out, right? Offensively, it's going to look way worse. Like, if you're not going to sign the defensive class that you do, you might finish 10th, right? But your defensive class is going to be top 3 across the board. So it's going to bump you up. But offensively, it's not going to look great. But, hey, the offensive playmakers get that bag. We all know about this, man. Watch the NFL. The guys that are holding out, they ain't playing defense, man. There's one Roquan Smith for every single Emmanuel Sanders. Trust me, there is, okay? So that's the kind of the way I look at it, man. It'll all settle.
Yeah, it's definitely going to settle, and that's what you just hope people start to understand that it's going to take some time, like you're saying. I actually just saw something that popped up on my screen from ESPN a little earlier that was saying that they are working on something as of like it was an alert before we came on the show. It said SEC and the other congressmen and stuff are working on something to actually get this working. So like you said, if he's coming out and saying that at media day, it's now hitting national media, showing that they are actually actively doing something about it. So like you said, the question is, might just take about a year and a half, but just wait, just be patient. We'll get there, and it'll have some type of regulation.
A lot of people think of Paul Feinbaum as the guy that hosts Susan from Tuscaloosa to take
run the damn ball, Paul.
Exactly. Understand something about Paul Feinbaum. He's also got multiple law degrees. This is a guy that is like very, very educated. So when he speaks about what it means for laws and bills to pass in Congress and in court, he knows what he's talking about. And particularly, he would not name drop Saban talking to congressmen like, hey, guys, y'all know who the congressman right now in the state of Alabama is? Anybody. Going once, going twice. Tommy Tuberville. There you go. Right? So, like, what does college football mean to the state of Alabama? You tell me. It means a whole hell of a lot. So, like,
everything.
These types of things, it's not just Alabama. Georgia's the same way. And, a lot of these schools are. It's why NIL, in terms of state legislation, got passed as fast as it did in the Southeast. California was kind of like a trailblazer, right? Gavin Newsom went on LeBron James's show, shout out to LBJ, and was talking about all of the NIL stuff. And then all of a sudden he's talking about, I'm going to release a bill in 2023. That's fine. Florida, the next day after it released on HBO, said we're going to enact the same exact bill and we're going to release it in the fall or in the summer of 2021. That's why the July date started, guys.
Yeah.
That's why the July date started, because California said, we're so liberal, we're going to do this, right? We're so able for everyone to get paid that we're going to do this. And the Southeast said, we love that football, baby. We're going to do it before y'all. And they did it immediately.
That's not soon enough. 2023 is too long.
This is not political. This is just facts. This is just tracking the data, okay? And even better yet, Texas was like, Southeast doing it, West Coast doing it. Texas was like, we're going to put this stipulation in to where you don't have to go through any realistic business. All you have to do is start a 1080. All you have to do is start an LLC, to where if money is going in and money is going out, we don't care. The legal system says we are throwing our hands up. So in the state of Texas, an LLC at TAMU/LLC can have an influx of payroll of $1.5 million, and they can have an outflux of payroll at $1.5 million. And the state of Texas is going to throw their hands up, because in their books, it's washing. X equals Y, right? It's what they teach you in accounting class. Debits equal credits. That's it. And in Texas, that shit flies. In Georgia, it does not. In Florida, it kind of does. In California, it somewhat does. In North Carolina, it's a difference. Like every state, there's these different rules. And that's what every coach comes out and says, the same keynote phrase. We just want general legislation. I know for a fact Jimbo Fisher don't want general legislation. I know he don't, because that keeps him from doing things or playing along the same books that Georgia's having to do right now and Alabama's having to do right now, because their legislation doesn't equal what Texas does. All of these bylaws, all of these earfolds, my teacher used to call them earfolds, where in contracts, it's something that the lawyer folded over in the contract as to say, tab that page because we F them over, right? We call them earfolds, right? We got them on that one. There's a whole bunch of that in all of these NIL deals, left and right. It's snake's claws everywhere. That's what the scare is. And if you listen to coaches that give you realistic data, right? Kirby Smart gave you the numbers. 95 players went on NIL deals. Nick Saban, $3.5 million last year, NIL deals. Google Jimbo Fisher NIL right now. You'll find quotes where he says only one player last year had an NIL. Buddy, if you're telling the truth, whew, your recruiting class fitting to fail, right? If you're telling the truth, and you're not, what you're doing is telling me fugazi. What you're doing is telling me lies. So you just read through it, folks. Find someone that's telling you the right stuff, like these couple of guys right here.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of what we were talking about before you hopped on, Brooks. It's just that really, like how the coaches are saying they just want general legislation on this. Also, we're the people over here also saying, like, we just want to make sure that these kids aren't getting screwed over, because the kids are the ones that are fueling this sport that we all love, that we all wake up early in the morning to watch college football from morning until midnight or whenever. These are so you really don't want the kids getting screwed over in this situation. And just like you're saying with Texas A&M, where there's just a bunch of stuff going on, and the people who are running the laws and stuff are just putting their hands up. They're not going to do anything. It just gets real messy real quick, and it already has. Just like you said, if you pay attention, you can tell things are already getting very messy over there. And the video leaks out of that guy saying, "Just look up in the stands. That's where all those people signing your checks or whatever they said are coming from." Like
the craziest article I've seen so far was the one from The Athletic about Nico. Well, it came out as Nico's, the $8 million deal to Tennessee, right? And in the deal, they start talking about all these interlying, like, unspoken agreements and all these things. And what came out of the investigation of this $8 million deal, this NIL collective out there in Tennessee and Knoxville or whatever that created this article, was that agents started appearing. Okay. I'm talking about the agents. Okay. I see Josh nodding his head. He knows the names. Okay. The agents. There's like 4 or 5 of these monsters that all control every single NFL player that you know, that you buy jerseys from, every single college football coach that you know that signed every $8 million, $10 million contract, all of them. They all hang under the same agencies. And when I see these agencies, the heads of them, not some little media guy, right? Not Jonathan Williams speaking for Dogs Daily. I'm talking about Brooks Austin speaking for Dogs Daily. I'm talking about the head of the agency putting their name on quotes in The Athletic representing high school athletes. When you start seeing those things, I've talked about this stuff on NBR for months, man. When you start seeing those things, understand we have reached far beyond even NFL free agency. Guys, understand, NFL free agency, it barters on realistic expectations. It barters along guidelines. You are allotted this amount for this position. You are allotted this amount for your salary cap. You are allotted to do this. You are allotted to do that, right? There's like all these stipulations and rules, so much so that people go to freaking Harvard to understand caps, right? There's none of that in college football right now. None of it. And the biggest agencies in the world are sniffing around 17-year-old football players. That should scare the ever-loving shit out of anyone who loves college football. It should, because they're talking about it in an open market that is not sanctioned. It's not sanctioned. These are sharks in the water with no lifeguards. That's what's going on right now in college football. Not to be an alarmist, because at this point, the alarm's been sound. We were talking about this stuff on networks like mine 8 months ago, 12 months ago in July when this stuff came out. We told you it was going to happen. It's bad, man. It's bad news bears. And ain't nobody coming to help. Ain't nobody coming to help for 18, 20 months till the actual government gets in and says, this is what you are allowed to do. This is what you are not allowed to do. This is the limitation, and this is the documentation that you have to supply. Until that happens, hey, oil money running this shit.
So
Oil money and cash money running this shit.
Talking about the oil money too, though, we've been talking about Texas A&M. They signed like the best recruiting class of all time in 2022, right?
Record.
In 2023, they're sitting at 33rd ranked right now, and they've only got 8 commits. So, what are we? Is that running out though? They got busted in the news lately, right? Everybody saw that video Jonathan mentioned earlier. Everybody saw that, and they got kind of thrown under the bus. Jimbo didn't say about it after that either. He said so much.
Here's the deal about that video. That wasn't a position coach. That was just some intern. Man,
they gone, by the way. They gone.
Pardon my language. That son bitch was fired before the tweet was sent. that dude was so fired. That dude was so fired it didn't even matter. So like he's gonna claim dumb Jimbo, like Dumbo, like he always has. Like every good coach was in that situation. In fact, honestly, every good coach wouldn't have been caught in that situation. They know not to do that. At Alabama, you will not catch anybody slipping. I promise you right now. At Georgia, you will not catch nobody slipping. Talking about see them folks up there, that's where your money comes from. Never, ever, ever. You will not catch that bag slipping, ever. Because they know, like, they're a clean-cut organization. Just like the starting quarterback under Kirby Smart would not be stealing crab legs from the local Publix. It wouldn't happen. Okay? It wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen.
Go back to the old Jimbo days.
Okay, first of all, he would have gotten the crab legs for free because it's Athens. Okay, like
he would have got a crab NIL deal. That's what he would have gotten
at this point.
And he probably wouldn't have been eating crab legs. He probably would have been taking home barbaritos at 3:00 in the morning. Like we all know this. Okay, like, but nonetheless, run the tight ship. But that's not the bag out there at Texas A&M.
No, but so the question now is Texas A&M slowing down? And like you said, they've got about 18 months, right? 18 months where they still have the market. Are they going to squander that with this 33rd ranked class right now? Or are they about to make a huge late push to jump themselves up into the top 10 conversation since they only have 8 recruits right now?
So here's the thing that I think Jimbo and Texas A&M fans realized about mid-February of 2022. We just signed the #1 class in the country, which means we signed the death warrant for our head coach in about 3 years.
Yep.
If he doesn't win a national title in 3 years, he's fired, period, point blank. Like he could go 12-1 the next 2 years. If he gets curb stomped by Alabama, doesn't win the West, it doesn't matter. He's out. He is in the same spot. Okay. He's in the same spot that Kirby Smart was 2 years ago.
Just was about to say that.
That's it. He is in the same exact spot. And if he doesn't live up to recruiting expectations, he will be flamed. No one can live up to this. No one at all. Now, I don't care if you got a 10-year, $120 million contract. They just showed you, based off sliced bread, that they got $35 million a year to just chop up. So it don't really matter, right? Like you're telling me in what they would fire him next year. If they fired him after this year or after next year, it would be what, year 6 of a 10-year contract? They're going to eat $40 million. $40 million is nothing to Texas A&M boosters. They will round that shit up in dividends within the next 4 hours. Over with.
Get him out.
Yeah. You won't see them holding on him because of the buyout clause like Georgia did with Tom Crean for an extra year.
I think we're going to know about Texas A&M by November. We're going to know what his status is. I mean, if they're winning games and if people are sticking around, then we're going to know if that NIL bag is real. B, if he can develop and coach, and see if they're going to stick around. If by December people are hitting the portal, all those freshmen are hitting the portal, you're going to know that NIL bag did not clear. That's clear as shit. Okay. And if they're not winning games, you know he can't coach. So that's it. Because they have recruited at a top 9, top 8 level for 3.5 years now under him. This is not new. What is new is him recruiting at the highest level of all freaking time. That is new. Him recruiting at an elite level is not new.
No, it's not new at all. And NIL stuff at this point too is here to stay. At this point, we know that the question mark is going to be, what are those regulations going to look like in about 18 months? We could sit here and over the next 18 months, as Brooks puts on his sunglasses inside, the cool guy over here.
Always sunny in Doucheville, baby.
You're throwing me off my speech here, Brooks. I'm sitting here looking at the camera and I can't help it. But we know how that's going to be over the next 18 months. We're going to see all of this crazy stuff happening until then. We don't know what it's going to look like after that. But like you said, just hold fast as Georgia fans, as college football fans in general, and don't throw in the sport in the dumpster just yet, saying it because like Josh and I were talking about earlier before we came on the show. There's nothing like college football. College football is the greatest sport in the nation. It is the best sport. There's nothing like it. I'm a huge baseball fan, huge football fan in general. NFL doesn't quite cut it there for me. College football is just next level for you. So it's still going to be that same sport. Give it a little bit of time for them to figure that out, and we'll move on from there and kind of just adjust. It'll be different. It's already different, but it's still going to be the same sport you love at the end of the day, in my opinion. We'll just see what the changes are going to entail on there. But so Brooks, since we have you for a second, fall camp starts tomorrow, right? Fall camp starts tomorrow. Everything's getting better, or everybody's about to start getting better at UGA, getting, those pads popping, all that. We're all ready to have it happen. Our next segment of the show, I'm going to make you stick around for this part, is the Dawgnosticator. It is where we make our bold predictions about the season, or that's what we're going to do this time, right? We make predictions and stuff. So we're going to call it bold predictions for 2022. What do you see happening for Georgia football? It can be a player, it could be the team. Go for it. I already heard. Don't give me your tight end thing either, because I already heard that. We all know that. Don't go tight ends.
Can I hear that title again?
Yeah, Brooks definitely might have got ripped off by that for Jonathan. I'm just saying.
Bold predictions, do a little hot takes 2022. Man, I don't know. Pass. Let's come back to me, man. I was more staring down, wondering if I was gonna make this my new Twitter profile picture over here in the corner. Like this guy with the hat on, little tank top, little V-neck with the chain, glasses, hot mic. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I don't know. Listen, we got copyrights of the video, so you got to make sure you give us the shout out first.
Hot takes. I'll go last. Y'all go. I'm the hottest of takes, so y'all go first. I want to hear this.
All right, I'll start it off. I already have mine figured out.
Better yet. Sorry to cut you off. I'll grade the takes. How about that?
Oh, okay. We are in session, okay. Professor Brooks. All right,
I got my notepad. Let's get it out. Let's go, Dr. J.
The remarkable has been pulled out. Let's go.
Josh didn't know that he was going to be graded on his first time on the podcast. But so for my first one, people are probably tired of me talking about Stetson Bennett, just because if you follow my Twitter feed, I've been spewing all kinds of stuff about Stetson Bennett with stats. I put out some today comparing points per drive of him and Bryce Young, and they're actually very comparable. Stetson actually led him in some categories as well. But the one that I'm going with, and I'm going to pull it up so I can get the numbers exactly, but it has to do with total offense in a season. So the other day I was checking the records and seeing who led Georgia in total offense. And of course, probably to no surprise, it was Aaron Murray. And Aaron Murray leads Georgia in program history with 3,825 total yards in 2012. But Stetson Bennett last season finished with 3,121, and he's ninth all time.
Wow.
And on top of that, I think Matthew Stafford finished around the 3,500 range as well. So I'm here to say that Stetson Bennett is probably going to pass Matthew Stafford, and he's going to challenge Aaron Murray's all-time offense, or all-purpose offense, whatever you want to call it, because he has his legs. He gets plus yards in the rushing game. He can use his arm. He has tons of weapons. We sit here and talk about it all the time with the tight end room, wide receivers, and all that stuff. So, Brooks, you have your hand raised. I'll let you intervene real quick.
I do. I was just going to go ahead and score you. We're going to knock you at least 2 points for saying 3,500 instead of 3,500. On to Jeremiah Stoddard.
3,500. Wait. Before we go to me, though, I need a final number. Right? Your take. Because I was gonna do Stetson. I'm trying to shift on the fly here because I don't want to do the same thing. But I'm gonna get. What's your numbers for his stats for the year? Give me an estimated number.
Boil the take down to a sentence, man. Elevator pitch me.
All right. Stetson Bennett is going to break the UGA all-purpose offense yards in a season record. He's going to top Aaron Murray in that number. And I'm going to say he's going to be around 3,900 yards at the end of the season.
Man, We think
Hey,
pretty similar.
can I go ahead and say something? The last like 3 quarterbacks to win the Heisman threw for over 4,000 yards. So the fact that we're talking about all-purpose yards at 3,900 just tells you where you're at. You know, just go.
It's bold predictions for a reason. It's bold predictions for a reason.
I mean, god dang, Burrow threw for like 4,200 yards in a season. Y'all talking about, can he throw for 3,700 and run for 200? Can he crack 3,900? So hey, don't be out here, as Brooks gets the sunglasses on. Don't be out here hating on people for hating on your offense, okay? Because the quarterbacks put it up everywhere else. They put it up. I mean, they put it up big time stats. Go ahead, Stoddard. Hey, B minus on the take. I wish you would have said 3,500 minus 33,500. Right. That hurts my head listening to it. Go ahead, Stodd.
So since I was gonna use Stetson, I'm gonna adjust on the fly and come up with my other number. So with Todd Monken's offense, his last year, we talked about this already. Actually, I wrote an article for you, Brooks. You're welcome. I actually put one out for the first time in a while. Hope you saw that one.
Shouts to the brand.
I put an article out, so I'm going to piggyback off of that as well. My point of that was with Todd Monken in his third year as a head coach in college football was at Southern Miss. He had a quarterback throw for 4,400 yards, kind of left that out of the article. I was focused on the run game, which is what I'm going to focus on here. Even with having 4,400 yards of passing from your quarterback, Nick Mullins, he still had 2 running backs that were over 1,000 yards rushing. He even had one of all-purpose yards at 1,600 yards. Combined, he had 2 running backs go 3,000 yards, I think, total.
Yeah, he had 2 NFL guys in that.
Ito Smith and Jalen Richard. He had some great guys. He had some dogs. He did. But I'm going to go ahead and say that he can, even if he has Stetson Bennett up at his next level, we already know Georgia's about to go above their points per game average of last year. That's just fact at this point. They're going to improve. He's going to take 2 running backs of all-purpose yards over 1,000 yards this year. He's going to take Kenny in the passing game mainly, and he's going to run with Kendall.
Absolutely love the take. Okay, understand. Love the take. Love that he gave me the historical background of Southern Miss. But here's where you failed, B minus. Here's where you failed, B minus.
Go ahead.
How friggin' dare you come on this platform and mention Ito Smith and Jalen Richard and not mention Todd Monken's years with friggin' Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in Cleveland? How you do that? B minus.
That's true. Because I was going for college football, man. The relevance, college football.
Here's the deal. Your point remains, right? Your point remains. Monken's ability to develop 2 backs, right, or at least develop a style for each back remains. Like if you go back and look at those lists, and even if you look at their histories in the league, Jalen Richard was a first down, second down back. Okay, Ito Smith was much more of the hey, we'll figure you out. Maybe I might have that flip flop inverse. Same thing in Cleveland. Nick Chubb, first, second down back, majority of the carries, majority of the totes. Kareem Hunt, much more of the yak design plays, screen plays, design you out, run you out into empty, get you lined up against a linebacker, run you on a vert. Does that sound familiar? It should, James Cook. Right? Like all these things Monken has developed an ability to do. I give you a B. Actually, I'm going to change it to a B plus because your take and your opinion is much more educated in football, but your execution was shit. Josh, come on.
I stay with college football.
I don't have any stats for you. I don't have any stats or numbers, but I remember seeing Kenny McIntosh's his first TD. He made just a cut, and I have been waiting for Kenny McIntosh to get his shot, just to get his shot, just to get his carries, and I guess my bold prediction would be like I believe he becomes
little Murray State, little tata right there in B gap.
I mean, right now, and he was gone, and I knew right then. I was like, I cannot wait for this kid. If he sticks around at the University of Georgia, he sticks around and he buys his time, like every running back has done since Gurley got here. Every running back has bought their time. They have paid their dues. Nick Chubb and Sony paid their dues, and they still rushed for 1,000 yards apiece. And I think Kenny McIntosh has paid his dues, and I think he is due to be running back 1 this year.
This guy gets an A+, hire him. The rest of you are fired. I'm out.
You'd be a bad boss if you didn't tell basically your own employees there's things to work on. So I'll just put that out there as well.
If I didn't tell my own employees to piss off, I wouldn't be doing the right thing here. Just, hey, shouts to J Mac right there, baby. Woo! J Mac for K Mac. Woo! Come on now.
I will say, Josh did get to the point real quick, and he was just very fluent in his take. So I take no offense to him taking the cake up for this round of Dawgnosticator. He can have that one. He earned it.
Yeah.
I wish I could come onto my own platform and be this much of a goof. Just be an idiot.
You could.
I could, but people would think I'm even more of a douche. You know, they hate me already. Could you imagine if I showed up, glasses, mailman delivers tank, glasses out, just poof.
Comments would be popping.
I mean, they would hate me, man. They would hate me. Just too sexy for my own good. Hey, you guys did a great job tonight. I'm gonna see y'all out. Y'all close your own show.
Hold on.
Appreciate y'all for having me.
Pause. Where's the prediction? You said you got one at the end.
He was great. He told us he was great.
What do you want?
You say your bold prediction. You said you were gonna let us go first. You gonna leave us hanging like that? I said
I was gonna go last, but I also said I was gonna grade the takes.
Well, you graded ours. You still go last after grading
all right, bold prediction: 12-0, 18-point loss against Bama in the SEC championship game.
Oh, leaving on a sour note for the fans. Tough one.
Guys, I think Bama's. I'm going to say this. You're going to hear this over and over again. This is like the fourth time I've been asked for a prediction. I'm going to lay this solid the rest of the year. I will stand by this no matter what. No, I don't care how freaking good Georgia looks 7 weeks into the season. The schedule is so bad. But I'm going to tell you right now, that squad they built in Bama, that squad is different, guys. That is a different level of Jimmys and Joes that we have not seen. They got football players like you haven't seen, just like last year's defensively. They got it offensively. They got guys everywhere, okay? I think Alabama put together a roster that we haven't seen before. Whether or not they perform like they're supposed to, I don't know. But what I'm going to tell you is Georgia's going to handle their business. That schedule's the worst I've seen since I've been covering them. But that doesn't mean they're going to be ready for Alabama. That does not mean they're going to be ready for Alabama come December. I really do believe Georgia cakewalks a 12-0 regular season schedule, and they get beat by 18 points or more in the SEC championship game. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Elias Ricks. That's all you need to know. Guys, they still got Henry 202 hanging out at linebacker. That guy was an All-American and an SEC first-team player 2 years ago. He was hurt last year most of the year, and people acted like threw dirt on his grave. He's a great football player. Okay, they got Dallas Turner. People don't talk about him. Dallas Turner could come to Georgia right now and get 10 sacks. I promise you. Dallas Turner was heavily recruited by the University of Georgia, and he had 10.5 sacks as a freshman last year. They got guys, man. They got an absolute freaking roster. The fact that you beat them last year was an acclamation of 7 years of absolute grinding the trail by Kirby Smart. Because what people don't remember is it did take the first 2 years of flipping guys that were committed to Bama. It took flipping Jake Fromm. Don't remember that. Don't forget that. People don't forget that. It took flipping Jake Fromm. It took flipping transfers from Alabama to come over year one in 2017. It took all those things, right? It took a 7 year of work just to get him once. That's a lot. Okay, that's a lot. I'm not saying you're not going to get him again. I'm just telling you he built a absolute juggernaut.
It's a fair point. We'll see what happens after December. You still get another chance, hopefully, at that point, like we did this year in the national championship type stage and playoff setting. So we'll see how that plays out. Kirby is the master of making adjustments after getting beat by a team at this point. We've seen that after he lost to Auburn and was still able to make that adjustment and 3 weeks later beat them by 21 points, I believe, then losing so bad to Bama in the SEC championship game, turning around and beating them in the national championship game by 15 points. So we'll see what he's able to do in that aspect of it as well. We've only got a couple minutes left. We kind of ran long on some stuff. We ended up getting Brooks jumping on, and which was well worth having.
2 great guests. I mean, how could you not run over with these guys?
This is going to be a longer episode.
With them as you can.
Going to be a longer episode than usual when you have people on the show, and hopefully people stuck around with us for this. The last segment of the show, we'll go ahead and do it kind of quickly. is King of the Hill, and this is Jonathan's segment, so I'm gonna kick it back to him real quick.
Dawgnosticator is also my segment. Don't forget that. I'm a content genius around these parts. All right, guys. Don't get it
You
twisted.
might have ripped that one off. That's all I'm
Stoddard's
saying.
just my little puppet, and he's just doing everything that I tell him to do. I send him the show plans. No, I'm kidding. We both contribute to this, but King of the Hill is definitely my big one, and it's one of my favorites. So, Josh, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. I hope you are. But King of the Hill is basically we have a topic, and you give your 2 cents on that topic, and we kind of decide who wins the topic. Usually, there isn't an ultimate winner, of course.
We seem to agree a little too often for this segment.
Yeah,
to be honest
we do.
with you.
But this one's just kind of fun. There's really no ultimate winner. It's just opinion. And it's just, as kids, we played sports video games growing up, all kinds of assortments of them. And so who was your favorite, most overpowered, in your opinion, best character to use in any video game? Who was your favorite and why?
I got an Xbox 360 for the first time. I guess I was probably 12, maybe 12, 13 years old. First game, I had my mom go buy for me. Mom, I need this game. I want to play it. Baseball player, 2K13. When David Price won the, I don't know
such
if he won,
a good game.
I don't won MVP. He won the MVP. And I'm a big Bryce Harper fan. I know most people don't like him, think he's a douche, but it's not even about Bryce Harper. There was a guy, I used to play with the Nationals when I would play that game. And I would play 162 regular game season. I would come home from school, plot right down there, and play 4, 5, 9 inning games after school. And there was always one guy on the Nats, 2013. I don't even when Jeremiah sent me the text, I immediately thought of him. His name's Michael Morse. I don't know if you know that name, but I swear every time that guy came up to the plate, it was a double or a homer, and he was the most OP player I've ever played with in any of the shows or the 2K13. So my hot take, or not my hot take, but my King of the Hill is Michael Morse.
That's so funny because like I remember in like the older 2Ks, like basketball now, I'm talking NBA basketball, like it was so funny. Like you'd be playing My Career or you'd be playing against your friends. And then all of a sudden, Rudy Gay, who's like a 74 overall, is just giving you buckets. Or Terrence Ross is just yamming on your head all game long. So it's always funny. It's like it's not even necessarily the headliners, and it's the guys that for some reason they're like a 70 overall, but they're somewhere in the stat system or the ranking system where they just got like a buff out of nowhere or something like that, and they're just unstoppable. So it's funny that you mentioned Morris in that conversation as well. So Stoddard, give me yours. What's yours?
All right, I'm going back a little more old school to it, and it was one of the earlier games that I played because we're younger on the show. All of us are around the same age, and but I'm gonna take it back to 2004 for you, and probably one of the most all-time overpowered players in a game. It's going to Madden, and it was the year he was on the cover, and it's gonna be Michael Vick. The dude was a way ahead.
Stoddard was that guy. Stoddard was that guy that everybody played against.
100%, man, because he was so overpowered. They gave him I think it was a 95 speed. He had a 98 throw power, 97 throwing accuracy. You could literally just zigzag, and his change of direction, like his acceleration and movement stuff, was also
like Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl. That's what
it was
like.
Exactly the same type of thing where you could just do this and or you could just bomb it 60 yards. With no problem. And it's like, when you're playing against them, you can't do anything about that. And that was when Madden didn't adjust. Because, the reason it's not overpowered now is because they figured out ways to kind of hurt you with it at this point. Like, so look, Lamar Jackson, if you play the newer Madden games, Lamar Jackson is now faster than Vick ever was. He actually has a 96 overall, or a speed rating. But you know what they put into the game? One, his throwing power and accuracy is not 98 and stuff on top of it. And two, they made it so easy to fumble as a quarterback that you cannot risk getting hit. You have to either slide or get out of bounds, because if you're playing with a quarterback, and you will fumble 5 times in a game if you don't, legitimately. So that's my guy. I'm going 2004, Michael Vick.
So the player that I'm going to go with, and I think this one's pretty common, but if you ever played the old school backyard baseball, Pablo Sanchez doesn't get much better than that. It's just a simple, 2D graphic, cartoon looking characters. But Pablo Sanchez was always that dude. If you didn't have him on your squad, you failed or you were doing something wrong. But I'm going to put a wrinkle in this, and I'm going to also go with a team. And I'm going back to NCAA football 2013. So before the last one that was made recently. And Oklahoma State in that game, I don't know why. I have no idea why, but I always gravitated toward picking Oklahoma State, probably because I like the mascot or something stupid like that. I was 13, 12 years old. But with Justin Blackman on that squad and just the offense in general, Todd Monken was there during that time as well. I would make so many of my friends rage quit, turn off the Xbox, hang them up so quick just because Justin Blackman was unstoppable for me. For some reason, I don't know why. I just had an odd connection with him. So the 2013 Oklahoma State squad in the NCAA 13 game was just my person. And then, of course, my guy Pablo Sanchez as well. So,
dude, Pablo Sanchez was like, it wasn't even just like they gave it to him in one sport. There was backyard baseball. There was backyard football.
He was him, dude.
Like there was backyard hockey. The dude was the best player in every single one of them, and it wasn't even close. You had to pick him first when you were doing the.
He was prime Bo Jackson.
You gotta pick him. He was.
Just do it, anything.
Got me going back into like I think the last backyard sports game was maybe 2010, but maybe in like the 09 or lower era as well. So you took me back with that game for sure. That game was legit. Played it on the. I think I played mostly on GameCube. That was the console that I played that on. The GameCube, man.
Josh, you were talking about grinding out 162 games on MLB 2K13. That was me too as a kid. I was the guy that would start a franchise, and I would just put all my favorite players on like a different team. So like I had like Justin Upton, Freddie Freeman, Mike Minor, all those guys on one team, and just start a franchise with them. And I would play every single game. And I miss that because now that I'm older, I play MLB The Show and stuff like that. I'm simulating most of the franchise now, and I'm just kind of getting through things, maybe playing the special moments and stuff. But there was nothing better than being a kid, having no responsibilities, coming home every single day and just grinding it out, man. There was something special about that. Just reminiscing a little nostalgia for you guys, but
that was a good time. Now I'm more of I've always been more of like the character side of it, right? Like the my player stuff, or like right now, like the road to the show. I've always been that guy. I'm over here.
That's why I'm so excited for the NCAA to come back. I'm just ready. I don't even want to play. I don't want to play versus anyone. I just want to go be a quarterback, and I want to pick that I'm going.
Everybody wants to ramp up.
What was the title? What was the title? What was they had a what was it called? Road to Glory.
Yeah, Road to Glory. Yeah,
Road to Glory.
And that's what I'm ready for. I'm ready for that to come back and have it on a console that I can actually play. And you talk about going to work and coming home.
I'm ready.
We're gonna be.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I'll see you guys. I'll see you tomorrow at some point because when that game comes, I'm not going to talk to anyone. I'm not going to answer my phone.
Exactly.
Not gonna
listen.
Nobody
Josh,
tell Brooks this, but I'm taking a month's vacation from writing articles when that game comes out. He doesn't know that yet.
Dogs Daily is going to be kind of slow in the month of July next year. Just saying.
I hope so. Lord,
Jesus.
All right, Stoddard. We've kept these people for an hour. We've kept Josh for an hour. So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. So much going on. Brooks came in on the fly, joined us, had a good time, got some good discussion with Josh. And I'll do my duties, as always, of plugging all the socials. You can follow us on Twitter. We revealed a new logo, by the way. I don't know if the listeners have noticed that or not, but we've got a new logo going on. You can see it in the top
right corner.
In the intro and outro, you can see it now. Also got new intros and outros. Shout out to Josh McAllister for being in that one as well. A lot of good stuff going on there. We've got some natty clips as well. But on Twitter, Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter as well. We got Jeremiah Start at the Stodfather, Dr._J. Josh, you go ahead and plug yours as well, man.
Yeah, I'm just my Instagram's _ and then Josh McAllister _ and
there you go. Simple enough.
There,
straightforward.
So do all that. Follow us on our socials, and then Jeremiah, you can close us out, brother.
As always, keep it classy in the Classic City. We will catch you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Classic City Sports. Take a second to subscribe, rate, review, and share with your friends and family. Feel free to reach out to the Classic City Sports Crew on Twitter with any topics you'd like discussed. You can reach out to Jeremiah at the Stodfather, to Jonathan at Dr._J. Will, and make sure to follow at Classic City Pod for show updates. Check back next week for a brand new episode. In the meantime,
two words which express the sentiments of the entire